When you have the opportunity to put someone in this world, find out that educating is the code of love. A love that speaks, of a love that forbids, of a love that imposes limits, but also of a love that allows, that embraces, that puts to cry when our pains are greater than us. Because over time, as we lose the people who take care of us, you feel how hard it is to be alone in the world. And that mother who kept pissing you on, calling, asking where you are, where you were, who you were going. One day, when this phone no longer ring, you will miss you. Oh, I would come back just to have the right to find her again. When he had that disaster there in Santa Maria, Rio Grande do Sul, one of the people who rescued, after the nightclub caught fire and the club floor was full of young people like you, who died asphyxiated, one of those firefighters, in tears, said that in the middle of that bunch of dead people, the cell phones played insistently, and some who were thrown on the floor, they only saw the name Mother. Those cell phones spawned on the floor, next to those dead boys and girls. Across the line, there was a mother calling. That phone call can never be answered. Never. Life is an interval between the day to arrive and the day to leave. What is making our lives work is the choices we make. If they are aligned with what God wants from us, it cannot go wrong. Will there be suffering? Yes. But it is that suffering that you spend knowing that it is worth it. It is the suffering that redeems us. It is that beautiful freedom that God gives us, and that you are gradually awakening. That you are becoming who you are. Who God created in us. God did not make a mistake in me. God did not miss you. Conversion is not to turn into another person. No, it is us to become who God has done in us. Or God would be imperfect if he created a creature that needed change. No, he needs us to come to what he has created from us. And to that we call holiness. And for that you need to love yourself. You need to have respect for you. And you cannot measure your value with the ruler of those who have no respect for you. When you no longer accept the other's emotional trash, when you say, oops, you will no longer judge your emotional waste, because I am not a garbage chest. I am not a vacant lot. I am a richly territory purchased by God, sealed as an absolute value that cannot be negotiated. The most effective way God has to protect us is when we love each other, when you have respect for you, and when you confess your sin, and in that brief moment you forgot your value. Because usually sin humiliates us and makes us think that we are just that. The big problem with sin is to look at him and we reduce himself to him. No, you are not a sin. You are just a person who sins. And when you ask for forgiveness and the priest absorbs you, behind the way we say, that we absorb your sin. We are also suggesting as if we could say in your ear, get back to love. Have again respect for you. If you have someone in your life who is undoing the value you have as a person, reconsider this relationship. Reposition the roles. Because the greatest grace we can have in life, my people, is when we discover the value we have and we go on to life, claiming the right to be respected in the value we have and we. For you to remember the value you have, how precious. Evangelize, my people. To evangelize is to restore self-esteem. That you touch the heart of the other so that it forgives yourself. And forgiving yourself, feel forgiven by God. How many people in my life as a priest I absorbed her sins, but it was no use, because she doesn't forgive herself. We only feel God's forgiveness in our lives when we learn to deal with our weaknesses and manage them with respect, with love. You will only have this understanding the day you learn to deal with you, and then you will not negotiate what you have of the most sacred. That is your heart, your conscience, your body. If you have to enter your life, That is through the front door, removing the sandals from the feet, because the territory, it's holy, it's holy. And I'm not inventing it. No, for Jesus. Wow. But we also cannot forget the spiritual needs either. It is the human miseries. They are the people who are suffering from the lack of personal harmony. Here, before we finish the first block, we spoke of the need we have to live this daily reconciliation. Yes, to exercise mercy is to help those close to us also to live this reconciliation. Psychology teaches us that the unconscious, although not accessible to me, I have unconscious realities that were recorded inside me, in my head, in my brain, in my emotions. But from time to time, I identify something from my behavior that I do not know about the cause, and is there in my unconscious. The unconscious sends its messages. Someone one day helped build our unconscious, so that many fears today, we need to understand them in the light of the past. This is why therapy, good therapy, is one that makes us access unconscious realities. And let's throw light on this unconscious, and we fix it today what was spoiled there in the past. This is how we become people with mistakes and hits on. These are realities that are favorable to us and others that are not so favorable. Because we all have a philosophical soul, but sometimes we spend our entire lives without arousing that philosophical soul. It's interesting, guys. I like philosophy and lived for a long time. Today, I have dedicated myself much less. But I read a lot of philosophy. This is the practical philosophy. You identify the questions of every day, the most fundamental, the deepest, and you ask yourself these questions, and it is not even about answering them, but of living with them. Then I find people all the time who are reconciling with the figure of God, the Father. Rationalize this. The human experience I have cannot determine me. It can even represent an obstacle. This is natural. By the way, no one promised us that it would be easy. But faith is a gift that is in me, which is in you. And it is so interesting to think, my people, that the gift is given to us in the same way. Because sometimes we are unjust with God. We look at the neighbor who has a beautiful, admirable religious experience that repercussions on his character. Because the good religious is not the one who quantifies the so much times that he goes to church. No, it is the one whose times he went to the church caused transformation in his way to be. And sometimes we look at the one who seems to be a little more religious than us, those who are apparently more faithful than us. And we are in temptation to think that God gave him more faith than us. No, the same faith that is in the Pope's heart was given to his heart as well. What differentiates us, often in this experience, it is how much we cultivate what we receive. Everything was given to him. The bandit who is there in the penitentiary now, who has killed 16, 20, 30 people, he is still sublime. But he is settled in the chaff of the world. Someone needs to remember that he is sublime, because when I assume the condition of being sublime, I begin to illuminate the other, so that he can see the same miracle in him. Where you have a person with the possession of your sublime dimension, there it becomes an instrument of transformation for others. You can see, it is natural in us that we offer to the other what has done us well. It is natural in the human, however selfish he is. We are selfish when, materially speaking, we are afraid of losing. But when it is a good, we listen to that preaching, listen to that song. Why? Because I think it will happen in you the same thing that happened in me when I heard. Or if it is not the same, it will be something similar. You will remember that it is sublime. Reading a book can light up in us the awareness that we are sublime. It may be that no one is seeing, but your gesture makes a difference and reverberates in what? Every time we live a betrayal and we choose to start over, you will have to live the challenge of love without confidence. I remember once I wrote about it on Twitter and some people disputed, "Oh, but if there is no confidence, there is no love." No, it has nothing to do with one thing with another. I may well love my son and I don't trust him for what he has done, for disobedience, but I love anyway. So I may well love and not trust anymore. Then it's harder to go on because when I love and trust, I have two foundations. When I just love and I don't trust, I can only count on a foundation for the relationship. But then we have a chance. It is easier for you to rebuild confidence than you rebuild love. When we stop loving, it is very difficult to rebuild love because love is a very natural movement in us. I have no way to say so. I will love. No. I can even say I'll take care. I'll make an effort to be generous, to be loving. I think the decision is the continuity of what previously existed. So when a couple loses love, it is much more difficult to rebuild the relationship because we don't know where to pull this love because it is very mysterious. Already the confidence. No. Confidence is already a more enlightened territory. It is easier for you to look for everyday actions that can help rebuild trust. For example, our cell phones will have no password. We will have nothing to hide from each other. Marry where there was a precise betrayal, at the first moment of reconstruction, to fall apart all the situations that could generate the other's distrust. Priest. But he is entitled, and I am entitled. We are entitled when everything is fine. If there is the intention of rebuilding, confidence must be taken from the agenda of our daily lives. From our daily lives. Everything that can reaffirm distrust. So if the phone has a password in a couple's life, it may have something to hide from me. I am not saying that you do not have to have password on your phone if you are in a normal life, where confidence is established and your wife does not mind that your phone is locked. What I will say to you, the phone is the place of betrayals. This internet brought a lot of good things, but it also brought a huge door to our misfortunes. This internet, this ease with which we communicate, with which we get friends with 1,000 people on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, all the time these people are invading our lives, they are removing us from the plumb. So a good way to demonstrate that we want to change is even away from these social networks. This helps to rebuild confidence. When you realize that there is a very concrete conduct indicating a good intention. So, my friend, if you said there was no more love, I would say your situation is more difficult. But if you said you love and only lost confidence, let's rebuild it. Confidence can be rebuilt. Yes. I say again, to make all that can be mysterious between you both, stay more together. Sometimes we end up leading each other to betray us because we are absent too much. Couple is like that. You who work a lot, be careful. You may be working too much, making money, this and that. But you are losing affectionately because you are diminishing the strength of the bond you have with your wife, with your children. And the heart, sometimes empty, says, with his little cell phone in hand, with that beautiful people, available, loving. Because on the internet, everyone can be beautiful, loving, affectionate, perfect. This is the devil knocking on the door. And you are not there because you are very absent if you have absent too much. It was no longer vigilant. Do you know that story of the vigilance Jesus teaches us? It is for everything in life. Be vigilant in your relationships. The other day, Christian took advantage that we went to do the spiritual driving program. Did not think twice, because the wife inside the car went to make a honeymoon there. Wasn't it, Christian? This is too important in the couple's life. Create opportunity for you to be together. Ask the mother. Ask someone who can stay with the children. Get out one day at night, both. Life needs to have romanticism. Your love deserves it. Sometimes you have a very hard daily life. They work, get home so tired, and you have lost the pleasure of enjoying yourself, Enjoy life for two. The other day, the speaker, Mayor Belo Horizonte, is saying that the priests could not marry, that it was a way the church had to. I think it was to propose celibacy, to not have sex, right? To live well, the option of never. Then he says, no, just let marry. Because after home, there is no sex anymore. Usually this is so, he said. And everyone laughed a lot, because a pig is really true, right? House, and then loses even the pleasure of sex life. Becomes such a boring routine. The couple is there more than a month without practicing. You can't. You need to take care. Sex life is a complement to love life, especially affection. If this affection is ceased, which is so important for the other to feel valued, for the other to feel love, it is very difficult. Because then the traitor will bring what you are not offering to it. The opposite too. Suddenly you stop offering, Fedor goes there. Takes everything. The fedora. You as a wife. Sometimes I don't know. I may have fooled, but sometimes women are more attentive to marriage. And that's why they have so much need to discuss the relationship. And man has an implication for it. What is it discussing the relationship? It is alerting to what the door can be for an unpleasant evento. So let's reestablish confidence. Because if love exists, we already have half the way. I wish from the bottom of my heart that this discipline in the Christian life can help us live our relationships. Because yes, when I live the discipline of my Christian life, I am more attentive to the love I love and the care I need have for this love to last to last. I find it interesting that sometimes life takes us in such a hurry, which sometimes makes us make a return. It is always good for us to go back to our origins. In fact, more and more I convince myself that a man cannot be happy far from his roots. Knowledge of our deepest reality, what we are. It may be that life has modified you too much. It may be that throughout your life you have become a very different person from when you were in childhood. It may be that your roots were very far from you because of the life you were slowly assuming. And it is very common for us to find people at some point in this personal story who begins to feel the desire to resume some things that were being left behind, and then becomes impossible to seek and find because it stopped looking at the right time. We can do it every day before sleeping, a return to what is really important to us. You get back to your roots, you always have contact with what you are again. I personally was born in a very simple family, in a context of great simplicity. And as much as my life has changed me, no matter how much my life has given me opportunities to know the world, to meet a lot of people, to live more comfortably than when I was a child, I always ask God for gracito, resume that simplicity that was proper to my first half, for a very simple reason. Only the moment I take possession of that simplicity that was part of my childhood, will I know how to enjoy everything life gives me today. We have opportunities, knowledge, because it is this maintained simplicity that will make me balanced in what today I can have had. You may have been unbalanced a little in life the moment you have detached yourself too much of your roots. You even forgot who you were because you became such a different person from when you were a child. Your opportunities, everything you had, everything you no longer have, or the opposite either. Everything you didn't have, and you have now. Most importantly, my people are never to stop cultivating the roots we have. Wintertime is a time when trees they cope with a millennial wisdom. Plant wisdom, say so. In wintertime, a tree only survives as it is able to pull all the sap that is feeding the vanity of its leaves and its fruits and condenses that sap in its roots. Because what makes a tree stand up is not the beauty of its leaves, but it is the fortress of its roots. And then that's what we're talking about. When we have very solidified roots, very irrigated, quite nourished, we face the winter times better. We face the times of our difficulty better. We will know how to live different that time in our story when things do not seem to be much in our favor. It is the wisdom of the trees teaching us to lie. Seek to feed your roots. Christmas, New Year, is always a good time for us to start redoing our human relationships. It may be that you, throughout this year have gone away from your roots, your brothers, your parents, your family, your friends. Those childhood friends you haven't seen for so long and have been so important in your life at that time. It is always good for us to make a return to what was ours. That by the strength of our haste or the diversity that has taken over our history, we came to forget. Give one there. Enjoy this holiday so you can see the friends you stopped cultivating this year. Take a look at your friends who were falling into oblivion, in the family members you were ceasing to cultivate. Many times in the hurry that takes me, I forget to take care of my roots. And suddenly I don't even have fun in my leaves and my fruits, because my roots are in need of sapie. And God is this strength that helps us put our eyes on what is essential. Essence already says it all. Essential is that without which we cannot be what we are. There are realities in our life that are accidental. You live very well without them. You, for example, a Mercedes-Benz, which everyone would like to have, are accidental in our lives. We live very well without her. But the blood in your veins, this you can't give up. There are so many material goods that are merely accidental, and we reverse this scale of values. Many times we put material goods as essential in our lives, but it is not. The essential is, first of all, what sustains us as people. It is the love we love. It is the attention we give, we receive. It is the people we can trust. It is essential that we have good friends in life, even because no wealth is funny if you have no one to share without. It can be the richest man in the world. We even use that expression. It was so poor, so poor, so poor, that he only had money. These are our accidental realities. I already had moments in my life of extreme need, even material, often missing inside our home even food for us to eat. But I cannot deny that at that moment of extreme material lack, our poverty was supplied by my father's affection, my mother's affection, my brothers, who made my house happy even when we were so far away. It is the difference from Western and to the essential. We never had a beautiful home to live, but we had what was essential, the joy of being who we were, the joy of being able to go home. That's so good, isn't it? This is the essential in your life. This is the essential that you need to give your children. Make your home a place where they want to return. Many times we will know how to give our children a good air as we come back in time and begin to replace those who were part of our lives. And suddenly, we forgot. Mother, father, brothers, people who are essential in our lives. We always need to articulate what is gone with what we will still have. Life is much more beautiful when we can manage these two realities, the past and the future, wisely. Even because the present, this moment we have now, is the two-stroke articulation. One that I don't have anymore and the other I don't even know if I will have. So this wisdom, putting me in the possibility of seeing my present time as an opportunity to make the past I had, with all the difficulties, with everything that was painful to me, and at the same time, not allowing what was painfully keep me from dreaming a better future. You, who participate in my life so directly, you who accompany me, you who are my friend, I have increasingly reflected in the concept of friendship as a bond that fraternizes us, that puts us, even if we do not participate in each other's life, in everyday life. When we identify people who are articulating dreams similar to ours, in a time where there is so much war, where there is so much disagreement around the world, we find people who are making their personal effort to establish bridges instead of breaking them. Don't allow prejudice to move us away from each other. That prejudice prevents us from meeting people who sometimes we judge badly. In a time when the world has been so cruel, we have reduced cruelty in the space that is possible to us. You identify people who are doing this too. This generates a friendship, a Christian fraternity. Even if another is there in Indonesia and me here in Brazil. Knowing that this man who loves in a different language with different customs is looking for the same ideals as me makes me friends with him. Even if we never attend to each other's house, looking at the brands of what we lived throughout this year, learning for what we can live from now on. I say again, the difficulty of my year was very great, but at the same time, so peaceful, so visited by hope. Because that is what God moves me. Living. I cannot bear witness to my faith if I am discouraged with life. As much tribulations I have had. Maybe you know, I have heard myself tell one of the tough episodes of my life this year was that my house has literally fell. A very strong rain in Taubaté. The structure of my roof was not built as it should be to support a very large volume of water. Water entered all the conduit. I lost all the wooden floor. I lost the rooms. The ceiling from the plaster of the whole house fell, collapsed. It was a very sad thing. I remember I was traveling, and when I got home, Chica, I've seen it for the garden, I've seen that something very serious had happened. It was on March 9th. When the teak waited for me to get off the taxi, she hugged me already crying. I remember it as if it were today. She told me like this, "Please be calm with everything you will see." And when I entered, guys, it was a horrible view of seeing the fruit of your work, your commitment, your things, all destroyed. The house, that structure, that hitherto condensed affection, which was your resting place. There is no more. You can't sleep. You can't lie down. You can't sit down now. And suddenly the kitchen door was open, and in the midst of all wreckage, all of that destruction, all that dirt, who comes to me by the house, happy, not knowing what happened. Luca, my puppy. And it was impressive how God healed me through that creature at that moment, you know? He with those wide oleons, happy because I was coming home, not knowing the meaning of that destruction. Even though he didn't even know that it was destroyed. He just wanted to find me. His friend had been 15 days away, traveling, and was coming back at that time. He had no intention of looking at me with some look other than the joy of seeing me. I remember I sat on the floor and hugged that creature and cried everything I needed to cry. And it is as if at that moment God made me understand, by not understanding Luca of the tragedy, that life can always be beautiful since we find a reason. Even if it is small, for us to start over our story. What is a destroyed house? Anything. Is it a financial loss? And what we can't allow is that the house falls inside us. What we cannot allow is that the structure that supports us can crumble through the problems we face. I don't have a child to hug me when I come back. Maybe you have. You may have people who can mean all your disasters, all your tragedies at the moment you get home and hug you. And at that moment, Teek's hug was a livelihood for myself. But what God spoke in me through that creature, who does not understand anything about tragedy, to identify at that moment the voice of God speaking in me, just as I said to Francis of Assisi, through nature, through the animals, committed me still more, with everything I needed to drop inside me with that house. Because sometimes it's not just a falling wall, it's not just a roof that collapses, it's human structures within us that need to crumble. Our attachment, who knows, our attachment to what is material. And suddenly, when I looked for all that we can materially rebuild, and I saw my friend who could not have been rebuilt if he had been killed, just as we look at a father, a mother, to a child, and you realize that it is not material that can be rebuilt. That if the disease takes us, if death shakes us, a wall you rebuild, a ceiling you tidy up, a gate that fell you get up. A garden that has been destroyed, you rebuild. Now a person does not. A human being will always be the greatest preciousness we can have in history, in our personal history. The love we love, the forgiveness we give, everything we live in the daily lives of our house, with our parents, with our brothers, with our friends. At that moment, the hug of Luca, smiling look at me, told me that, glad you came back, full stop. Glad you are here, full stop. And then, after we find someone who tells us that good you are here, with a tail that swings, or with a voice that is possible to be said, how good you came, how good you arrived, good that you are part of my life. So we are on the right track. This year, I want peace in my heart. So let's do our part, right? I want peace. So I build the little things. I will build my relationships. I will close the doors that I need to close for everything that is harmful to me. I can have the courage to close doors, no matter how painful it is to close that door. Because I know that open door does not bring me peace. It is life change. New Year's Eve is a wonderful time for us to take stock. Trade takes stock. Trade identifies what gives damage and what not. And the good entrepreneur is the one who changes what is causing him damage. The good entrepreneur is the one who, the moment he takes stock of his company, his store, his vendina, finds that he needs to change some attitudes in his way of working, in his way of acting, so that he do not continue to bitter damage. The same thing we need to do through our effective life. Start paying attention to the relationships that we feed throughout the year. What is harmful to us in this relationship? Establish, score. Is it right? It's my right. It's your right to look at the structure of your life and have the right to change what you think will be better for your personal freedom, your way of being of God. Creating this peace. You, the builder of your peace. You establish inside your home the breakdown of these barriers that get us so away. I like to always say that. It is very easy for us to build gas bands indoors. It is very easy for us to separate our brother from our life. I say this to you through what I experience in my daily life. How hard it is to articulate affection in a healthy manner in a balanced way. Being too much loved is bad. Being loved less, is it bad? Peace is the moment we have established a bond that really gives us conditions to be who we are. I want peace in my heart, whoever wants to be. We can be friends. Yes. Friends of the word that unites us. Friend of the gospel that congregates us. Friends of the sacrament that feeds us. Friend of the meetings. Also, friend of intimacy. What we cannot give up is to establish this universal fraternity. We need to be friends of humanity. We need to feed on each other this feeling of respect that makes me look at each other with the respect it deserves. Not to feel entitled to invade what I can't or treat it with disrespect. To impose on him bales that are not his. This friendship is so beautiful, my people. When we find out that each one where they live, with the people with whom it lives, is locking the same ideal, fighting for the same ideal. We want to be better people. December 15th. And I followed, even without answering, because it is impossible. I followed the demonstrations of people from all over Brazil, saying, "Hey, congratulations on your day." I kept thinking about the meaning of so many people wanting to congratulate me that day. And I realized this delicate web that unites us, right? I am a priest who participates in the lives of these people. I am a priest who I am friends with these people without knowing that I am.